Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome yet again to yet another session of Saat Ki Baat Lajja Ke Saath. This is me, Vandana Joshil, your hostess for the evening. And although all of us know what Lajja is, let me, mention it all over again. Lajja is India's first forum for women, which gives women a non-judgmental space to be themselves. It gives them a space to grow, to learn, to inspire and be inspired. This is a space where we don't talk about empowering women, because we believe that women are already empowered. All that these women and me including need is a word of appreciation, a word of encouragement, and acknowledgement for all that we do. So having said that, let me, Vandana Joshil, once again invite you all to Saat Ki Baat Lajja Ke Saath. Today's topic is interesting, as are all our other topics. But today we're going to be talking about holistic health. Now, holistic health, for those of you who don't know, is an approach to life where rather than focusing on the illness or a specific part of the body, we consider the whole person, how he or she interacts with the environment, and it's a connection of the mind, body, and spirit. Of all the holistic or the alternative treatments that are available, we can talk about acupuncture, aromatherapy, homeopathy, hypnotherapy, Reiki, traditional Chinese medicine, yoga, and Ayurveda. Now, Ayurveda is something that is probably the closest to the hearts of every Indian, because it is something that, it can be traced back to 6000 BCE, and those that's like so long ago. This is something that our Vedas have talked about, our Rishi Munis have spoken about, and it's there in all our scriptures. So, the guest today is somebody who's going to talk about Ayurveda, somebody who knows the subject in and out. It's probably, racing with the blood in her stream. So let me not waste any much time, and let me bring to you our guest for today, Rachna Gupta. Welcome, Rachna.
Thank you, Vandana. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, so Rachna is the co-founder of Jnanaveda, the world's first tech-enabled Ayurveda platform solving period problems. She is a health and happiness coach, and is also the author of Happiness of Coach, or Happiness Ki Coach.
Happiness Key Coach.
Correct, correct. Happiness Ki Coach. We need all of that. And she's an advocate of Ayurveda and women's health. Who better than to talk about Ayurveda and women's health on a forum like Lajja? So, Rachna, let us start off by understanding why Ayurveda for
Okay,
everything in our lives. Yes.
sure. So before that, I think a huge thanks to you and Riddhi and the Laja team for picking up a topic that I think today the word Ayurveda and the word immunity has actually become the buzzwords of 2020. And thank you for having me to speak on a topic that's so close to my heart. In fact, I've had a very long, tiring Monday, but thanks to this topic and you ladies, I'm so totally pepped up to talk about Ayurveda. So,
Okay.
coming back to your question, I think, it is time that Ayurveda gets its due credit for being the ancient Vedic medicine system which was discovered more than 5,000 years ago, and bring it to the forefront today to demystify the kind of powers that it has, not just for women, but I think for all of us as individuals and human beings. And it is, sometimes appalling to see that the West has embraced it so beautifully, and you'll see so many people talking about the five elements and the biological energies in our body. And back home in India, where it was actually originated, I think it's time that Ayurveda should get its due. It's time it should be celebrated, along with some of the other indigenous homegrown medicine systems that we have. So I
Yes,
think one of the fundamental premises of why Ayurveda is because it is a very simple but a very solid way that keeps us rooted to our center. It
absolutely.
actually keeps us very close to what our default setting is.
Okay.
And your default setting is different from my default setting, and the same goes for each one of us as individuals. So it considers you as an individual, and then it prescribes what's going to work best for you to be in great health, full of vitality, energy, and also a lot of focus on prevention is better than cure.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is like a custom made package exclusively for you.
Yes. And the science behind it is that Ayurveda is centered on the premise that, like I said, each one of us is different. And the difference is what it tends to uh, rectify and what it tends to treat. So just to give you an example, there are five elements which we all know, which is earth, water, fire, space, and ether, right? And it derives these biological energies that each one of us has by way of a combination of these five elements. So, as per Ayurveda, each of us has a dominant biological energy in our body, which is called as Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, right? And
Okay.
then
Hmm.
this Vata is a combination of space and air, which is responsible for all kinds of movement that we do in our body. So right now, I'm using a lot of hand movements to express my excitement. You are nodding your head, blinking our eyelids, all the tissue and muscular movement that happens in our body. That's predominantly the Vata energy.
All right.
And then you have Pitta, which is the biological energy responsible for transformation. So all the digestion, the absorption, all those functions happen by Pitta, which is a combination of fire and water.
Okay. All right.
And then Kapha, which is a combination of earth and water, which is the biological energy responsible for providing nourishment and structure. So each of our skin has a different kind of a sheen, the moisturizing of the skin that happens, the lubrication that happens to the joints, all this is done by the kapha energy.
All
So
right.
way back, the ones who invented Ayurveda, they used to do something called as Nadi Pariksha.
Yes, I've heard of
They would
that.
actually, yes. So basis your Nadi Pariksha, it's very easy to find out whether you are a Vata person, Pitta person, or a Kapha person. So which is the dominant energy in your body, and as a result of which, what kind of a balance you need to maintain so you're always in good health.
Yes, yes. Wow. That's I guess somewhere we have all heard of this, growing up also because we are in India and Ayurveda is an essential part of our growing up. Uh, because we are talking Ayurveda, I'd also like to talk about, Ayurveda uses a lot of natural ingredients, our roots and, things that are available in nature. So why don't we start at home? Why don't we start from our kitchens, or from what, we don't have houses which have a courtyard and stuff, but why
Yeah.
is it possible for us to start off a holistic or a clean kind of a living from our kitchens itself? Any remedies that we can start off from our kitchens to ensure that we don't come to a stage where, we're struggling to find a doctor? Let's talk about the immunity here.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think like I said earlier, right? I said Ayurveda is a science which is based on very simple but very strong methods of prevention and treatment. And the fact that it has been passed on from generations and there is a legacy behind it. When it was invented, there was nothing but forests and caves. You
Absolutely.
know,
Hmm.
it's the time when uh, Charak Samhita, which is the ancient scripture which describes Ayurveda, or there is Vagh Bhatt who wrote about Ashtangridyam, which is like a Bible in Ayurveda. All of it tells us about actually being out there in the open, plucking the herbs from the
Yes.
vast forests that India and our biodiversity has to offer, and actually
Hmm.
consuming it in its natural form.
Hmm.
So it's so amazing that when you live an Ayurveda way of doing things, or if you adopt the Ayurveda lifestyle, your expenses are going to come down.
Okay.
You are not going to be spending a lot to keep yourself in good health. So I think that's a plus point of Ayurveda which nobody has marketed, which I would love to do.
Please
Is
do.
how cost effective it is, and from a cost benefit angle, at a very low cost, the tremendous benefits that you can achieve. And that's because, like I said, it talks about consuming tulsi, which
Hmm.
apparently in every Indian home, when you go back to our native places, you will find a beautiful tulsi plant outside every Indian home. And even today, in spite of all of us living in an urban jungle, you will still find plenty of tulsi,
Yes.
right? So tulsi leaves are an excellent source of antioxidants, which are very important for immunity booster. Then there is the whole concept of turmeric and haldi doodh.
Yes.
And turmeric is found in every, and I'm going to call it as turmeric latte because that's what the West gave us.
Ah, that's it. That's it.
And that's how
They
you
know how to
introduce
market
it.
it. Yes, they know how
Yes.
to market it. They're selling our stuff back to us.
And I was like, ye kya hai turmeric latte? It's nothing but haldi doodh that our grandmoms and their grandmoms have been telling us to drink, every day. But
Yes.
like you rightly said, it's a matter of packaging
Yes.
and giving that to us. But yeah, so turmeric, garlic, um, ginger, cardamom, cinnamon, everything that we find in our kitchen, which we use in mostly in Indian cooking at home, I think is what actually Ayurveda recommends, and it brings out the function of every herb and what it does inside our bodies. So in that sense, it's extremely simple, and you can find it in your kitchens.
Yes, yes. But there is this misconception or the fear that once you start Ayurveda, you have to follow a certain diet. You know, you can't. I've often heard of people saying, "Arey, coffee chhodna padega," so I don't want to go in for Ayurveda. Or, you can't eat khatta and things like that. So, is that really the case, or is it a misconception?
So actually, it is honestly a combination of both.
Okay.
It's not completely a misconception, and nor is it completely true. And the reason being, first and foremost, I think there is a lot of misconception about how Ayurveda itself is perceived. We
Yes.
think of some Rishi Muni telling us Sanskrit verses and then suggesting a very, very minimalistic way of living and giving up the pleasures of life, which is definitely not the case, right? And so I think what's not come out into the open is how liberating Ayurveda can be, Vandana, and that's what I want to bring to the forefront through Gynoveda and the fact that we're doing work in the space of menstruation, period health, getting women freedom from any kind of period disorders. I think the focus is that Ayurveda is definitely not for people who expect overnight success.
Yes.
It
It's
is,
long
it
term.
is, yes, it's a life science, right? And life science means it's going to expect you to change certain habits. And we say typically about 3 weeks to 6 weeks is a good time for habit formation to happen and certain habits to get
Yes.
replaced with healthy ones. So that's the amount of time that Ayurveda needs to kick in into your bloodstream and start showing you the kind of impact it has. But today everybody has a shortage of time. We
Yes.
definitely don't have as much patience as our grandmothers had.
Yes.
We want everything jatpat.
That's
So
what. Yes.
yes, in that scheme of things, definitely it doesn't fit in, but it fits in for people who want to be healthy lifelong, who do not want to every day pop a lot of different medicines which they know is harmful and is not going to yield them results. So I would say only two things when it comes to how Ayurveda works out. One, it is uh, jaldi nahi, jad se, right? So
Okay.
which means that it's
Yes.
not going to happen fast, but it's going to give you lifelong and lifetime solutions. And the second is that even if you don't have a problem and you end up consuming Ayurveda, whether it's medicines or it's home remedies or herbal, you will never have any side effects. You will only have side benefits.
Okay. Wow. That's a nice way of saying
So
it.
that's the two things that I would urge everyone to remember before taking Ayurveda. And no, it doesn't call for restrictions. I think it calls for habit formations and habit changing. But yeah, you can enjoy a glass of wine every evening in Ayurveda. We just don't call it wine.
Okay.
We call it Draksh Harishta, which means it's a grape syrup. So you just
I
change the
love it.
name.
Oh, I love it. I
Yes,
Yes.
to that.
I am a Malayali, so we Malayalis have like a shelf full of these concoctions at home, and yes, they are very good for digestion, and yes, we have our share of bottles at home, so I know what you're talking about. There is
Lovely.
another, yeah, there is another thing that I wanted to talk about. Now, I remember this incident from when I was very young. I was a school going child, and I had this bronchial asthma. So I went in for Ayurvedic treatment. And now, one time when I did pick up the bottle of, they call it the leham, that kada kind of a thing. And apparently, it was like a combination of two different things. And the guy who did mix, gave me the bottle, he did not mix it. So when I went home and I had the first spoonful of that, suddenly, I kind of started having a feeling like it's upside down, and a sudden, I don't know what, I can't even explain what it was. It was very scary because I was a school going child. And then when we went back to the doctor said that, maybe the metal had not mixed well enough. Now, so that kind of put a fear in me. Metal hai isme. Of course, I was young, so my parents could force me to have it. But I think as an adult, if I heard that there was metal in my medicine, I would probably be a little bit scared. So, what is this? What has metal got to do with medicine here?
So it is true that there is in some specific forms there are usage of metals, but one must remember that today when you're cooking in our own kitchens on steel, on aluminium vessels, on different kind of vessels, there is a scraping which is happening, right?
Yes,
And we are consistently using the same kind of utensils over and over again, in some cases for almost a decade or more than a decade, and you are consuming that metals in its very minutest form. Now
okay,
when it comes to certain very intense lifestyle issues, let's say in terms of cancer, or in terms of very high intensity, and I'm not going to call it as diseases, I'm going to call it as disorders. There are certain medicines which prescribe metals, but one must understand that these metals are very, very carefully treated. They go through a certain treatment procedure before they get added to the medicine. And also the fact that which company is organizing it. Today I think Ayurveda is looked at as such a decentralized market that you don't know whom to trust. So you should
absolutely.
be you should be able to kind of segregate. And I hate saying this, but there are quacks in every kind of a business, and so Ayurveda is no different. You need to really understand the origin of why this metal has been added, in what proportion has it been added, and take it from the right manufacturers. There are excellent Ayurveda manufacturing pharma companies today in India who are doing extremely well. They give you transparency of the metals, and if it is beyond a certain point, you should not consume it at all. But every time you think of metals, my only submission would be look at what's happening inside our kitchen, right?
Yes,
You are in which ways consuming metals which you don't know how dangerous they are. So the same
absolutely.
way that we look at Ayurveda medicines which have metals, we should also question the kind of cooking methods we are using today in our homes,
Hmm.
and how safe is that too. So I
Hmm.
think the word here is balance. I think it's very important to know that you should not be consuming metals, and if you do, take it from verified practitioners, take it from verified companies who tell you what percentage of metal, if at all, and how it's being treated. I think that's what's not coming out on the now.
Yes,
I
yes.
find that that treatment process transparency is not shared, and which
Hmm.
is why it creates lack of trust.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, when you mentioned cancer also somewhere in this conversation. Now, how effective is Ayurveda for treatment of cancer, and at what stage? Because, like with any other disease, it's invariably the last minute that you rush for miracle cure, so to say. Uh, and generally, Ayurveda is avoided because, like we discussed, it's a long term process. So, have you seen Ayurveda as an effective option for cancer? And you would recommend it, of course, but what's the degree?
Yeah, but it's before I, so I think very clearly have I personally seen in my experience cases that have recovered successfully from Ayurveda. Yes, I have.
Okay.
Uh, but having coming to the recommendation part, like you rightly said, I think the beauty of Ayurveda is not in its cure; it's in its prevention. So if you start following the principles of Ayurveda from a younger age, it's not going to let you get into cancer or any kind of deep-rooted lifestyle issues, whether it's diabetes, whether it's hypertension, it's blood pressure, it's cardiac-related issues, right? And I'll explain the science a little later, but I think it doesn't let you fall into any of these problems in the first place. But
Okay.
let's say, unfortunately, if you have, and you have been detected at an advanced stage, most often, and this is something that all of us go through, right? You're constantly in this state of conflict. You don't want to change your medicine system because right now it is life threatening.
Hmm.
And your
Hmm.
family is going to be worried, your well wishers are going to be worried, everybody is going to obviously advise you against it. And I think they are right from the position that they come from. But it's important to remember that if you are in a life threatening situation, and specifically for cancer, if you've already been through chemotherapy or been through radiation, there is so much of depletion of your body cells, and the nourishment that your body needs to bounce back. Unfortunately, at that advanced stages, Ayurveda will not be able to get you out of it at the pace it should be. So I think clearly we should know in our head there shouldn't be a confusion when to do Ayurveda and when not to do. Ayurveda is not it's not a band-aid that you put on your wound.
Yeah.
Ayurveda is increasing your internal strength, immunity to make sure that tomorrow if you get hurt, you just apply ice and cold water on it and you should be good to go.
Yes.
So it is clearly a medicine system which is very, very effective in prevention, and in certain cases does a fabulous job in treatment. But yeah, early detection and at what stage you discover So let's say if somebody meets with an accident, unfortunately, on the road, you shouldn't go in for an Ayurveda system. It's recommended that if you need to get hospitalized, you should go in
Yes,
for there. But
yes.
how do you come out and build your strength and immunity and get your respiratory ailments, get your lifestyle ailments under control? That's when Ayurveda comes in super handy.
So just to clarify, just if you are undergoing cancer treatment, you are undergoing chemo and radiation and all that, you can still have Ayurveda. Can we
Yes,
have include?
yes.
Okay, great. Yes,
You can,
that
but like I said, it takes that much more time to undo what's already happened in your body by way of chemo or radiation.
okay. So maybe if somebody is in the first or second stage, we can
Yes,
still look at
yes.
Ayurveda as an agent, as an aid to the overall treatment. Correct?
At, at early stages, I would recommend it can be a primary course of treatment.
Okay, okay.
We've seen cases where people at very early stages have completely got themselves out of cancer by following what has been prescribed to them. But if you try two or three different medicine types, then unfortunately it's a hodgepodge, it's a cocktail
Yes,
that's
yes,
happening. And you know what happens after a cocktail, right? So
absolutely.
that is what is not recommended. I think clarity of thought, and every time you consume a medicine, you need to consume a medicine, whether it's Ayurveda or any other alternative medicine. You need to take it with the right energy.
Yes,
You
yes.
need to you need to tell yourself there needs to be affirmations that this is going to treat me, this is going to heal me from within. So I think both mind and body needs to be aligned. Otherwise, it doesn't.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like they do say that, medicine does just that much. The rest is your faith in your doctor and the medicines that he prescribes. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we have a question from Prerna Vaswani. She says, "Ma'am, I took Ayurvedic treatment for my PCOD problem with doctor, but my acidity and hair fall issues increased a lot. Told doctor also about the same. What could be the reason? People tell me कि Ayurvedic medicine garam hoti hai, so it doesn't suit everyone. Is that true?"
So it's not and for Prerna, it's not a very generic thing to say Ayurvedic medicines garam hoti hai. What happens, like I said, is in Prerna's case, she has PCOD, right? And PCOD is supposed to be a kapha disorder. It's basically because there is lack of nourishment or structure happening inside the ovaries, which is causing multiple cysts. So when
Hmm.
you have a kapha imbalance, you are given herbs which need to balance kapha, which means the medicines given to her is slightly going to increase the heat in her body so that the egg or the ovum in the ovaries has to rupture at a certain time for
Okay.
ovulation to happen and for menstruation to happen every month.
Hmm.
So my only recommendation to Prerna would be continue taking the medicines if you still are. Please consume plenty of water. I think also if you are from Mumbai, Gujarat, Rajasthan, cities up north, I'm not sure where you are from,
I think
but
she's from Pune. Yeah,
she's from
Pune.
Pune.
Hmm.
So I think given our kind of weather, I think along with the medicines, I don't know which one has been prescribed to her, but as a general rule, increase your water intake and also increase your intake of ghee. That's the magical word in
Intake of
Ayurveda.
what?
Ghee.
Ghee. Oh my God.
Ghee.
Okay, Prerna just corrected me. She's not from Pune. She's from Ahmedabad. I'm sorry, Prerna. Somewhere I forgot that. So she's from
Sure.
Ahmedabad, which is, yes, it's a hot place. And I'm surprised you say ghee because that is one thing we try to avoid saying. We'll become fat when we have ghee. I know I
That's
love ghee, and yes, I love ghee. And every time I take one spoonful, I have everybody at the table looking at me like, "What are you doing?" So yeah, so ghee is interesting. Please tell me
it's
more. This is
the
the subject I like.
it's the most magical thing one should have and enjoy during every meal. That's the buzzword. If you want your immunity to be improved, if you want your skin to be good, if you want hair fall to be reduced, or you want to control it, if you want your weight to be under control, I
Wow.
think all you need to do is consume ghee. What's important is what type of ghee are you consuming? I think that's the question today that we are all battling with, because there's a choice of so many brands out there.
Yes.
So it's recommended that you have a specific, it's called an A2 cow's ghee, which means
Okay.
it's a non-hybrid breed of cow, which is not being injected with any kind of chemicals. And so if you can have A2 cow ghee, have it in generous quantity, Vandana. I'm going to join you on that. I love my ghee.
Oh, wow. I'm going to show this to my family and say, see, she said have ghee.
And I think because it is, in Ayurveda, every problem is attributed to low metabolism or digestive problems. And if you want to have good digestion, you can eat whatever you want, but how you digest your food is actually very, very important to be in good health. So for digestion, consume ghee. Bharpur ghee khaiye, and there will never be a problem.
Wow. Prerna is asking whether Patanjali cow ghee is good. Now, I wouldn't know that. Patanjali cow
I
ghee.
I honestly wouldn't endorse any brand here. I have told
Yes.
you a generic. All of us are intelligent enough. You go to any online platforms, Amazon, it gives you a range of A2 cow ghee. Please read about A2 cow and what it produces, and then I would suggest you please pick up whichever you prefer.
Yes, yes.
Ghee
So,
is the
yes,
word. Let's not forget
yes,
ghee.
ghee. Which is very interesting when you said, her kapha is probably high because she said that when I did show my nadi, the yoga ma'am told me that I have kapha parikriya more. So yes, without seeing her, without checking her nadi, you were able to tell us. Wow, that's magic. uh, oh,
That's
yes.
because theory, like I said, there is a science, and that's exactly what we do at Gynoveda, right? We solve period problems by categorizing women into Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and there is a science behind it, and then we come up with solutions. So that's the beauty of Ayurveda.
So, just for my understanding, do you also at Gyanaveda go through the nadi? I mean, you actually check a person's nadi to come up with your diagnosis? You just,
So ours is a digital platform, right? We are an online. So we've got a period test where we've put in the intelligence of Nadi Pariksha, but it's a period test that is free. Any woman today can simply go on to gynoveda.com and take a 3-minute test, and it tells you whether you could have PCOD, you could have PCOS, you have period pain, you have irregular periods, delayed periods. And I'm stretching a little on this, not because of Gynoveda, but I think as women, Vandana, and I'm sure you've also seen it in the communities. I think we tend to deprioritize when it comes to our own health.
yes,
We are so
absolutely.
worried about our family, our children, our parents, our in-laws, everyone around us, that we don't give ourselves top priority when it comes to our own health. And
Yes.
within that, when it comes to our menstrual health, we still think कि नहीं यार 2 महीने period नहीं आ गए ठीक है, I will see the
We
third
don't
month.
realize it.
We
Yes, we
don't
don't
see.
even realize it actually.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't. You said it so true. We don't realize it. We don't verbalize it. We come from urban families. We are all today, having our own ways of empowerment. But I still think when it comes to menstrual health, there is so much that needs to be done, shared, and discussed with women.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yes, so that's interesting. So all of the women who are watching us and who will watch us later, I think you should go ahead and check out the test that she said on Gyanuveda, and maybe I'll share the link of the website also. We have another question coming in from Shweta Desai who says, "Ma'am, in Mumbai we have a humid atmosphere. We catch cold and cough more often. How do we deal with it?"
So I think, and like right now we are going to be on the onset of monsoons. In fact, it's just drizzled this morning, so monsoons are pretty much around the corner.
Yes.
I think, again, back to the fundamentals of Ayurveda, get yourself immunized and build your immunity. Lots of things, Shweta, that you can do in your homes, in your kitchen. Tulsi ka kadha is excellent. Like I said, tulsi is rich in antioxidants. You can just pluck a handful of tulsi, boil it in a full glass of water and wait till it comes down to half the quantity and then consume that and eat the tulsi leaves because they would have become soft and nice, moist along with it. Another thing is amla juice. Amla has extremely rich content of vitamin C, which is one of the biggest enablers of boosting immunity. So whichever city you are, we get amla in our markets. Just bring raw amla and have plenty of amla juice. Haldi doodh, turmeric latte, every
Yes.
day at night as a practice. I think are great ways to again combat cough, flu, common cold, build immunity. I think if you just if you can peel some garlic and also consume garlic, whether you want to have it raw. In some cases, if you have it raw, it gives a very intense burning sensation for some people. But apne sabzi mein, dal mein, if you give a garlic ka chop or the tadka of garlic, I think that's again an excellent way. So these are some of the ways that you can actually boost your immunity. Giloy or giduchi, we call it giloy or you call it as guduchi. They are herbs. That's again excellent when it comes to keeping your blood platelets intact and not letting it down. So if you have anytime if anybody gets affected with dengue, that's the magical herb to remember is giloy.
Giloy. Okay. Okay. Shilpa or Kaushik also has a question. She says, "My nose is mostly blocked throughout the year. Lots of mucus formation. What do I do?"
So, yeah, like I said, again, this is what I just mentioned, Shilpa. And just doing a recap of what I said is you can do a lot of steaming. You can take steam with the same tulsi concoction. You do a tulsi amla combination that also works well. Uh, Turmeric milk is extremely important. In fact, I would say take droplets of ghee and put it inside your nostrils.
I love you.
That is fabulous. Nothing works better than that, honestly. I think if you're okay with the smell or the fragrance of ghee and if you're fine doing it, please make it a habit and make it a habit for children if they are asthmatic. If you have young children at home who have respiratory ailments or are asthmatic, put ghee droplets in their nostrils. It will solve your problem from the roots.
Okay, so it it comes back to all of those dadiji's nuskes that our grandparents used to tell us, and which we I think over time we have brushed them off saying that, oh, what do you know, these are they are not tried and tested, but I think these are more tried and tested than the other medicines that we seem to be popping so often. Shubhashri is asking, do we have a specific diet for hypothyroidism? Which again is a like PCOD. I think thyroid is a problem which is very commonplace nowadays.
Yes, it is, and most often it is found. When you have hypothyroidism, you're also seeing women having problems with menstrual cycles, irregular periods, or delayed periods not coming on time. That tends to go together. Like I said, I think more than what you should eat, I think it is about when you should eat and how much you should eat. I think that's the aspect that we normally don't keep in mind. We are constantly focused on, oh, what all can I eat? While that list can be pretty small, I think it's important that most often we don't follow a regular meal timing.
Yes.
For whatever reason, our personal, professional commitments, the busy schedules that we have, I think very important that you follow a meal timing and try and stick to it as much as you can. Very clearly, this was Shubhashri, right?
Yes, yes.
So very clearly, Shubhashri, if you can control, if you're, I don't know if you're eating, consuming non-vegetarian, but I think at this point of time, if not completely stop, but control your intake of non-vegetarian and meat products. If you still have non-vegetarian, I would say restricted to fish and please avoid the rest. The other thing is, and again for you, contrary to what people say, and please look up some of the leading nutritionists of our country who believe in natural and organic food. Also talk about it a lot. Should have ghee. Ghee is a lubricant. Ghee is a superb digestive. And I mentioned this earlier. Ayurveda mein, very clearly they say the problem is not only because of the food that you eat, it is because of your body's ability to digest the food properly. And ghee
Absolutely.
facilitates that. So I will not stop selling the benefits of ghee because that is really very important. And like some of the things that you already know, no packaged food, anything that comes out of a packet, if you can replace it with home cooked food, and 70 to 80% of your diet should be fruits and vegetables. जो भी आपको पसंद है, there is no restriction on that. But I think include as many seasonal fruits and vegetables that you can consume, and you should be able to see your weight getting controlled for sure if it's not going to come down.
Great. Okay, Prerna was asking, is there any website link where we can check what we should eat and which time? I think that would be best if you actually met with a doctor, a practitioner, and had something designed exclusively for your kind of lifestyle. What do you say, Rachna?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I think there are enough, Lou Coutinho gives a lot of excellent tips in terms of what diet and nutrition. I follow Rujita Devekar because she takes you back to the kitchen. And I think I'm a big advocate of something where you don't follow fad diets and you don't spend a lot of money, conserve the money for other things and utilize the herbs and the spices that we have inside kitchen homes, inside Indian
Mm,
homes. I think there's so much of power in our kitchen.
absolutely.
But if I come across any specific diet and nutrition that we recommend, I will definitely pass it on to you, Prerna.
Great, great. Prerna, we'll get back to you with this one. Now, Rachna, you have been talking about, in introducing Ayurveda and Ayurvedic kind of lifestyle. Right, it's a long-term thing. So let's take a child. As we give our children so many, things at home, kada de diya, like children, we have a thing that when the child is brought into the house, on the naming ceremony, they rub a little bit of gold on their tongue. Ghee, of course, is something. So, do you recommend that, we start off an Ayurvedic kind of living right from when the child is a baby? We are giving to children tonics for letting them grow tall and putting on weight and all of that. So, would be best, or it would be better, or it would be more recommended to go in for Ayurveda? Correct?
Yes, yes. I think starting early is also giving a strong foundation to children. And I have a 14-year-old son. I got him started on Ayurveda much later than what I would have liked, but he was 9 when we got him started. And today he knows more home remedies than what I know because it's now become a part of his DNA. It's not very easy to do that. I don't know, with younger children, it might be a lot of effort for moms and especially working moms, young moms who are multitasking a lot. But I think, if we want to do it, there are certain basic practices that we can always inculcate. And Vandana, like you said, what did our grandmothers do? You belong to Kerala. I come from
Yes.
the coast of Karwar, which is border of Goa and Karnataka. And so I remember when I used to have fever as a child. My mom gave me boiled red rice cooked.
Yes.
the
Yes.
parboiled rice, and we used to have the water content of
Water.
it because it was so rich in iron. And that's exactly what we need to do. What happens today is when our child falls sick, we want to over pamper our children, and because we want to over pamper, the moment they start feeling good, we'll get them blue lays and green lays and all
Yes.
the possible packets and Oreo biscuits and whatnot and
Yes.
milkshakes. So I think it's time for us to just step back and see what did our grandmothers pass on to our mothers and fathers, and how did they bring us up. So basic little things that you can introduce to your children. If they can have jeera ka pani, jeera is what we use at home. So just if they can consume, like jeera boiled in water and then bring it down to half quantity, consume that. So not too much. Do it age specific. It habits take time to build, and
Yes.
I think we need to be the role models for our children. So if we eat outside packaged food and expect them to drink jeera water, it's not going to work.
Not going to work. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes, we have Riddhi who says, I so agree. I have used Ayurveda throughout my pregnancy, and I treat my child with Ayurvedic medicines. My mother is an Ayurvedic doctor, and I trust Ayurveda to the core. So yes, Riddhi, which is why we have Rachna here with us, because we know how much we believe in Ayurveda and the power of our traditional the herbs and the biodiversity that we are blessed with. So. So yes, it has been a very interesting and very informative 45 minutes of conversation that we had. Rachna, I want you to pick five ingredients or five spices from our kitchen, which we can now use. Right now, immunity is the buzzword. Everybody is out there looking for, like, 2 days back, there was a drive by, in my building where they were distributing those arsenic, no, what are those tablets called? Some homeopathy.
yes.
Yes, they were distributing that. And so suddenly there's this craze to build up your immunity, which should have been the case in any, I mean, it should have been natural. But so what, tell me five ingredients from our kitchen which we can use to build up our immunity. I know you're going to say ghee, you're going to say haldi. Tell me more.
Okay. I think one very clearly, and I'm going to stress upon this again. I think Tulsi Amla, right?
Okay.
In every possible way that one can. If you enjoy having your regular chai, you can put Tulsi leaves into it and consume it. So I think it's a magical herb, and it does wonders. So Tulsi and Amla for sure. The other thing is, and I just mentioned it, is jeera, right? So if you have jeera in your sabzi, if you put jeera ka chalk in your dal, you make jeera rice, and of course you have to saute it in ghee. I think that's going to be wonderful because it just builds your appetite as well. The other thing is, if you can have, I've mentioned this earlier, but if you can have garlic, I think garlic also is an excellent immunity booster. And then our, coriander leaves.
Okay.
You can have a lot of mint, pudina. See, these things we tend to think that, array coriander leaves, 10 rupees ka dhania, we haggle with the vegetable vendor, but we don't understand that there is such immense nutrients hidden in all of this. And it's not just for garnishing the food on top. It also gives you a lot of nutrients that your body needs. So I think I would be back to tulsi, amla, jeera, garlic, consume coriander leaves, consume celery, consume pudina. These are some of the things that I think does a brilliant job. And in India, there's not too much of variations, unlike what's happening in the West. Yes, some cities like Delhi, Rajasthan go through extreme weather, but Mumbai is pretty much for 8 months of the year is pretty much at a standard weather. So these are things that we find in every home, and consume it in plenty. And I think just enjoy food I think Indian food, home cooked food, enjoy life. I think that's the
Yes,
biggest immunity booster. And don't listen to all the forwards and the news that people are telling you it lowers your immunity. So I think build emotional immunity, not just physical immunity.
absolutely, absolutely. And before we end, I want you to leave my audience with 5 tips that they can keep in mind and that they can use in their everyday lives. All
Oh,
yours.
okay. We've already spoken so much, but let me try and keep it crisp. I think one, because Lajra is a women community, and I'm assuming more women are watching us, and we are all advocates of women and women's health. So I'm going to say very clearly. I think the first point is, as women, we should be Atmanirbhar. I think that's turning out to be the buzzword. So
Absolutely.
be self-reliant. Don't think you're selfish or self-centered. If you focus on yourself, your health, your well-being, I think it's extremely important. Mental, physical, social, financial, emotional health of women. So never feel guilty if you give yourself all the love and attention that you need. That would be my first, message. The second would be balance. I think all of us, and it's not just about work life balance, I think all of us are dealing with a lot today in each of our individual capacities. I think it's important, and that's what Ayurveda also prescribes as a balance. It just tries to get you back to what your dominant personality is. So focus on balance, and I think that's what we all need in our lives to remain healthy and happy. The third thing is listen to your body. Your body is
Yes.
constantly giving you signals. If your periods don't come to you, don't celebrate thinking that, oh God, good riddance to bad rubbish. No, it is a monthly detox. Period is a way of your body telling you that your reproductive health is in good condition. So if your periods don't come, if you see irregularities in menstruation, if you're having any kind of hormonal imbalance, please don't shun it away. Don't be shy to seek help and support and talk about it, because that is your body giving you a very important sign. So listen to what your body is telling you. The fourth thing
Absolutely.
is enjoy life, celebrate life. Don't wait to become 60 and hang up your boots. Don't wait to lose weight to start enjoying life. Don't wait to gain weight to start enjoying life. Wherever you are, whatever you do, you're great, you're good enough. Celebrate life right here, right now, because life is short, life is precious, and you have a beautiful life. So make the most of it. And the last but not the least, I think, is great things happen when women come together. Lajna is testimony of that. I think we should all celebrate the women power circle of sisterhood and encourage and support each other. And please don't judge anyone. Each one of us has our own battles to deal with. So let's just support each other and root for each other.
Wow, those were wonderful 5 things, and exactly what Lajja, Riddhi, and the rest of the team believes in. And yes, Rashna, you couldn't have ended this session more beautifully than what you did right now. So thank you so much. This was a wonderful session. We not we have so many more questions. We have so much more to ask you. So yes, please, when we do invite you next, please come forth and support us,
Thank
show us some
you.
love, and
Thank you, Vandana. You were fabulous. You just kept me going, and I don't think I realized that how much time went by. You're a fabulous moderator. Thanks
well,
to
thank you
Riddhi.
so much, Sai.
Thank you to
Thank
Riddhi
you,
and
Sai.
you for thinking of me, and more power to the Lajja community. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So with that, folks, we end today's Saat Ki Baat Lajja ke Saath, and we will come back soon with another guest, with another speaker, with more, something new to share with all of us. So till then, good night, take care, and thank you, Rachna, once again. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Take care.
Take care.